Hello everyone, this is Pooka, and today we're going to take a look at the brand new set, Furious Fists. So, I am basically going to do a set review here where we're going to take a look at what I feel like are the best cards in the set, and then we'll also take a look at some of the interesting cards that may have some potential in the future as well. I'm going to try to make this a little bit shorter than my previous set reviews, as those videos tend to be a little lengthy, but I do want to cover all of the good cards, so hopefully we can manage to squeeze this in a good amount of time. Alright, anyway, let's start off with what is obviously some of the best stuff in this set. We're actually going to start all the way down here. By the way, if you want to check out these scans, go to pokebeach.com. I'm actually going to put the link in the description as well where you can see all of these cards. But here is the first card that is really defining this set. Strong Energy. So this card can only be attached to fighting Pokemon. It only provides a fighting energy, but the attacks of the fighting Pokemon this card is attached to do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. What? So just by putting this energy on, you do an extra 20 damage. What is going on? This one energy makes your fighting Pokemon do 20 more damage. So, let's just think about this. There's a card called, Landorus EX, which does Hammerhead for 30 damage for a single fighting energy. We can then put a Muscle Band on that Landorus EX, which then does 50, and still does 30 to a benched Pokemon, by the way. And now we can also use Strong Energy to make that do 70 damage for one energy, and then 30 to a bench Pokemon. So this is starting to get pretty silly. Strong Energy might be the most powerful card in the set, but no, there is more. There's certainly more. So, not only do we have Strong Energy, but we also have Fighting Stadium. So the attacks of each fighting Pokemon in play do 20 more damage to the defending Pokemon EX. So, let's put this in perspective. That Landorus EX, say it's going up against a Darkrai EX or a Thundurus EX, some Pokemon EX that's weak to fighting. Now, if we have this Fighting Stadium in play, and one Strong Energy on a Landorus EX, along with a Muscle Band, let's do the math. 30 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20, that's 90 damage. 90 for one energy. Okay. That is ridiculous. So if we're going up against a Darkrai EX or a Thundurus EX or some Pokemon EX that's weak to fighting, Landorus EX with Strong Energy, Muscle Band, Fighting Stadium, that's a one-hit knockout for a single energy. That is absurd. So these cards make fighting Pokemon so extremely, strong. And I'm sure we're going to see tons and tons of fighting Pokemon. Of course, sets lately have been based around a type, right? We have Flash Fire Pokemon with Blacksmith and all that, fire support. Furious Fists, fighting types, definitely the theme here. And you can see they got tons and tons of support. Now, if that weren't enough, we do have some other things as well. First one is going to be Karina. So this is a supporter that allows you to search for a fighting Pokemon and also an item card. So that's actually pretty strong. So let's say you have a Karina, you can go ahead and search for a Landorus EX and a Muscle Band. Hey, look at that. Of course, there are many different combinations. I hate to keep bringing up Landorus EX, but it does seem to be perhaps the strongest Pokemon in the game now that we have all these tools to work with. So Karina is just a little more fighting support. Of course, we do get a nice full art supporter where she looks very angry. Yeah, wow. Here she's a little happier, roller skating along, and then, wow, she looks very angry here. Okay, so Karina, another fighting supporter. Didn't mean to do that, but play on words, I guess. Another card here for fighting types is Focus Sash. So it's a Pokemon tool. Kind of complicated, but if you play the video game, this makes a lot of sense with Focus Sash. But this can only be put on, it only works on fighting Pokemon. You can put it on any Pokemon, but It only works on fighting Pokemon. If you have full HP and then you get knocked out in one hit, you survive with 10 HP left. So, in a nutshell, that's actually very, very strong. But we do have ways to get around it. So, it may not be very popular, it may not be too effective, but just gotta think, if this ever actually does work, surviving with 10 HP is just... that's just a really good effect. You do have to discard it afterwards, but I think that's pretty much worth it if you manage to survive the turn. So Focus Sash, I'll be interested to see if that actually gets played, but another potentially strong card. I just wanted to cover all the fighting cards right at the beginning because they're so good. Okay, so for the actual fighting Pokemon in this set, I would say the best one is going to be this Landorus. Now, Landorus EX is going to be extremely good. That's pretty obvious. But this one's actually pretty darn good as well. Shout of Power does 20 damage, and then you take a basic energy card from your discard pile and attach them to one of your bench Pokemon. So, of course, this also gets to use Strong Energy and Muscle Band. So, with a Strong Energy and a Muscle Band, we do 60 damage for a single energy, and then get a basic energy from the discard and power up one of our bench Pokemon. So, very, very good. Also, 120 HP, not bad. That's pretty solid for a basic Pokemon. And Sky Lariat, not the best attack, but it's there as well. This is just a great support Pokemon. This is very similar to the regular Yveltal with Oblivion Wing. Does a little less damage, but it has the opportunity to use Strong Energy, so kind of balances out. That Landorus should be pretty good. The other card we're going to look at is going to be Lucario EX. So it does have 3 attacks. We haven't seen this in quite some time. There used to be a lot of cards that had 3 attacks. There was even a Tyranitar EX that had 4 attacks, but only 3, not getting too crazy. Lucario EX has Missile Jab, 30 for 1, and then it's not affected by resistance, 60 for 2, and then you may draw until you have 6 cards in your hand, and then Somersault Kick, 3 for 100 damage. Of course, keeping in mind once again, we can use Strong Energy for all of these. So if we just have 1 Strong Energy, 1 regular Fighting Energy, and a Muscle Band, we're doing 100 damage for 2 energy. And you get to draw till you have 6, so that's pretty good. I'm not sure exactly how good Lucario EX will be. Has this pesky weakness to Psychic, and even though we do have the rotation to Boundaries crossed on, Mewtwo EX happened to be both a promo and reprinted in Legendary Treasures, so Mewtwo EX can keep this guy in check, I think. We also do have Mega Lucario, though, and this is a pretty good attack. That cost is actually really bad, though. 3 Fighting Energy, I don't like that. Does do 140 damage for 3, which is ridiculously good. But 3 energy attachments, not sure how I feel about that. So, you do also get to discard energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, and of course you get Strong Energy and all the good stuff. But again, 3 attachments, and you need to Mega Evolve, and weak to Mewtwo EX. May just be a little much to make Lucario good. We shall see, though. Alright, so those are all of the very good fighting cards, I think. So let's move on to some other types, and some other trainers and such. I would say the other hypes card from this set is going to be Seismitoad EX. Now, it doesn't look like a whole lot, and of course, Seismitoad is definitely seen as a joke with, is the poster boy for round. But I think that's about to change. So, Seismitoad EX, 180 HP, has this cute little attack, Quaking Punch. 2 colorless energy does 30, and then your opponent can't play any item cards. What? So this is basically Zebstrika's Disconnect for 2 colorless energy on a basic Pokemon. So if you go second with Seismitoad EX and use this, you can turn 1 lock your opponent out of item cards, and theoretically they just won't be able to play item cards after their first turn. So this is very, very strong. First of all, that effect is just good, right? Things like Trevenant and Gothitelle, taking away items, that has always been a very good effect. Item cards pretty much make up most of decks, right? There's usually about, I would say, maybe like 15, 20 item cards in almost every deck. Maybe that'll be a bit of an exaggeration, but there are a lot of item cards in decks, so Quaking Punch, taking those away, can really win you a game on its own. I don't like Grenade Hammer too much. It's not a particularly great attack. It does do 130 damage, though. Does 30 to 2 of your own benched Pokemon. That's not a good side effect, but we can alleviate that with Mr. Mime's Bench Barrier, which will still be in the format. So Quaking Punch, though, is very good, and also it's a water type, so this is going to keep that Landorus EX in check. With a Muscle Band on here, we're doing 50 times 2 against the Landorus EX, which means you're doing 100 damage and you're taking away their items. It's pretty good. So Seismitoad, EX, that's another card to look out for, I think. Another one that's getting a lot of attention is actually this Politoed. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I'm certainly going to take a look at it. So its ability, King's Song, ignores all colorless energy and the attack cost of each of your Poliwag, Poliwhirl, and Poliwrath's attacks. So let's take a look at those Pokemon. First, we have Poliwrath, has Steamroll, so basically you get to use this for free. 60 and 30 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. That's not bad, especially when it's free. Then we have Poliwhirl, has Finishing Blow. You'll also get to use this for free with King's Song. 50 plus 50 if your opponent's active Pokemon already has any damage counters on it. So obviously there is some synergy here between Steamroll and Finishing Blow. The problem here is you need a lot of evolutions to pull this off. It's always been difficult in the EX era, you know, the Mewtwo, Darkrai, Yveltal era, to use Stage 2 attacking Pokemon. They just go down so quickly. But if any of them are going to work, it might be this. I suppose we can also take a look at Poliwag. If you really want, you can also use Spiral Current for free. 20 and then confuses, and then they also can retreat. So that's actually not a bad effect. Could actually come in handy sometimes. But here it is, the Poliwrath line, which we can take advantage of with Politoed's King's Song. Now, I believe there hasn't been a ruling yet, but there is some confusion on whether or not Celebi EX's ability will allow you to use Politoed to use the lower stages. You know, if we have a Politoed and we have a Celebi EX, which allows you to use the lower stages attacks, do you get to use them for free? I don't know, but if you do, that makes Politoed a little better, I think, being able to use Poliwhirl's attack. Okay, so there we have that. Interesting cards, definitely. We'll see if they actually end up being good. Okay, so next card I want to look at is going to be Mega Heracross EX. So this, of course, is a Mega EX, so it's pretty difficult to get into play. You lose your turn when you Mega Evolve, but it has Big Bang Horn. 3 energy, 180 damage, minus 10 for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So, obviously you're going to need to run something to get the damage off of him. If he can actually stay alive and not get knocked out in one hit, I feel like this card is very strong. 180 is good. That's going to knock out just about everything. I would say the main problem with this is going to be this fire weakness. If fire Pokemon are still strong, that's going to make it very difficult to use Mega Heracross EX. But it may not need a ton of support, so there are some cards out there that take away weakness, such as Leavanny and the Uxie, Azelf, and Mesprit, if you have all 3 of those in play. So I don't know, maybe there is some opportunity to take advantage of Mega Heracross EX. Now the regular Heracross EX, I don't think is that great. It does have Guard Press, 40, and Reduce by 20, and then Giga Power is just not that great. But Mega Heracross Big Bang Horn, I do think that's a very strong attack. If you can manage to get this out and keep it alive, it's going to steamroll through a lot of Pokemon. Now there's also some synergy here. We did have the strong energy. We're also going to have the herbal energy. So you can only put this one on grass Pokemon. And traditionally, grass Pokemon have been kind of the healers, right? You know, the defensive kind of Pokemon. So this is kind of fitting with that theme. When you attach this to one of your grass Pokemon, heal 30 damage. So obviously this works with that Mega Heracross EX, but I think you would probably need some cards like Potion or Pokemon Center Lady, or even I would say that Dusknoir with Shadow Void to move some damage counters off. You are going to need some support here with Mega Heracross, but hey, if he survives, like I said, 180 is a lot of damage. And don't forget, you can even use a Muscle Band if you want to hit for 200 for some reason. So Heracross EX, I do feel like has some potential as well. Next, we do have Dragonite EX. I actually don't like this card very much, but the ability is pretty cool. When you put it into play, you can actually switch it with your active Pokemon, and then move all basic energy attached to any of your Pokemon to Dragonite EX. So you can just kind of slam them down, and it's kind of like a scramble switch from anywhere you want. Now the attack is Jet Sonic, 2 Grass and a Lightning. This is kind of why I don't like it. Those aren't very popular types. I mean, the Grass, don't get me wrong, Grass is pretty popular, but Lightning, most decks don't run both of those, and are you going to run Lightning energies just to attack with Dragonite? It does 80 plus 40 if you discard an energy. 120 isn't particularly strong for Pokemon EX, so I have a hard time thinking Dragonite EX is going to be any kind of super powerful card, but it may find its way into some decks. I'm just not quite sure yet. We shall see. Alright. So those are really all the strong Pokemon, I feel like, in this set. Most of them are the fighting types. This doesn't seem like a very diverse set in terms of powerful Pokemon, but we'll take a look at some trainers as well that may be interesting or may impact the game. The first one I want to look at is going to be Training Center. Each Stage 1 and Stage 2 Pokemon in play get plus 30 HP. Wow, that's actually a lot. But there are a lot of stadiums out there. Burbank City Gym, the new Fighting Stadium, there's all sorts of stuff that we're going to have to worry about. So traditionally, stadiums that have added HP have not been good. There have been a couple of them in the past, including that Aspertia City Gym, and they usually just don't end up being good. So I'm a little skeptical on this one, but we'll see. Having a 170 HP Empoleon, for example, sounds pretty good. Next card we're going to take a look at is going to be Fossil Researcher. So fossil Pokemon have been downright unplayable for a long time. For whatever reason, the creators of the game just don't want fossil Pokemon to work. Originally, they had the mysterious fossil mechanic where you'd bench it, it's a trainer, and then you have to evolve it. It's not a Pokemon, it's a trainer that evolves into a Pokemon. I don't know why, but that's just how they decided to create it. And then over time, they have actually started to move away from that, and for the past few years, they've done something like this with the Sail Fossil. Look at the bottom 7 cards of your deck, and if you happen to find an Amora there, you can put it on your bench. That is very unreliable and very silly that we have to use these kinds of item cards just to get a fossil Pokemon into play. So Fossil Researcher is finally giving us a reliable method of getting fossil Pokemon into play. Search your deck for up to 2 Amora or Tyrant and put them onto your bench. Alright, so we can actually put them directly into play finally. We don't have to use the random method of the fossil cards, the items, or we don't have to flip for Twist Mountain. Nope. Now we get to use Fossil Researcher. It is a supporter that's pretty annoying, but hey, at least we got some way to get them into play once and for all. Okay, so I feel like those are all of the good cards from the set. The ones I feel like almost certainly will get played at some point. However, there are more interesting cards that I want to take a look at as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into those right now. The first one I want to look at is Blaziken. So Clutch, that's a decent attack, 50, and your opponent's Pokemon can't retreat during your next turn. But the one I'm going to look at is Burning Shot. Wow. Discard 2 energy attached to this Pokemon, and then you do 150 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. What? So in the past, we had a Blaziken EX all the way back in the Team Magma, Team Aqua set that did this same attack, but it did 100 damage, and it was a Pokemon EX. Now this new Blaziken does 150. Okay, that is strong. I don't care how you look at it. 150 anywhere you want. Now that's good. Now we also get to use cards like Muscle Band and Silver Bangle. So this is going to get one-hit knockouts whenever you want. You know, if you have the right cards, it's going to be doing lots of damage. The problem, of course, it is a Stage 2 Pokemon that takes 4 energy. Now it does have the support of something like Blacksmith. Right? We can power it up with Blacksmith and get Blaziken going. And maybe you can pair it with Delphox for some draw power, or Emboar if you want to keep powering it up that way. But the Stage 2 really does seem like it's going to hold Blaziken back, because it does need some kind of support. You can't just manually attach and Burning Shot all the time. It just doesn't work. It'll get knocked out. It'll be too difficult to get another one into play. But I do feel like Blaziken is a very strong card. I don't know. Can it actually work? That is my question. Next set of cards we're going to look at is actually a cool combo here. We're going to look at Electivire and Magmortar. So Electivire has its attack Tag Team Spark. 20 plus 20 for each energy attached to your Magmortar. So basically the idea here is you're going to try to load up a bunch of energy on a Magmortar. Just like that Blaziken, you can use something like a Blacksmith to do that. And yeah, for each energy on your Magmortar, you get to do 20 more with Electivire. Now Magmortar also has Twin Burst, does 80 plus 80 if you have an Electivire on your bench. So we get some good type coverage here, Fire and Lightning, and some pretty strong attacks. Unfortunately, Lightning is a fine type to be, but Fighting Weak is not good. We have outlined many fighting Pokemon that could dispose of Electivire for a single energy, so Electivire attacking probably not going to be great. Also 120 HP, not going to be great, even though Twin Burst can do a lot of damage. I mean, 160 if you have Electivire on your bench. That is, wow, that's stronger than I actually thought. And actually Flame Charge is pretty good too. Just that HP might hold it back. And, you know, a Pokemon with 4 energy on it is certainly a target in today's game. So I don't know if you'll be able to reliably power up multiple attackers. Maybe you'll get one big attack off and then get knocked out. But certainly an interesting duo of cards, I would say. We haven't seen that kind of role play between, that kind of teamwork between two cards, unless we're talking about Plusle and Minun. Those usually play off of each other, but, for once, they don't really interact. Go figure. I guess we're leaving that up to Electivire and Magmortar now. Okay, next we're going to look at Beartic. Now, this card in itself is not that great, but Pokemon is a game about counters and weaknesses. So, Beartic has Igloo Hold that does 20 plus 20 for each colorless in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. So Landorus EX is projected to be a very good card with strong energy, fighting stadium, so on and so forth. Landorus EX, weak to water, also has a 3 retreat cost, so Igloo Hold can do 20 plus 60 for just 2 energy, which is going to be 80 times 2 against the Landorus EX. So with a Muscle Band or a Silver Bangle, any way to just add a little more damage, Igloo Hold can knock out Landorus EX in one hit. So Beartic may see some play if people really start disliking Landorus EX. Next, I'm going to look at Aurorus. Now, it has an ability Ice Shield. Any damage done by an opponent's attack to each of your water Pokemon that has any water energy attached is reduced by 20. So this is kind of interesting. I think this may have some potential with things that are kind of bulky. For example, if we get Seismitoad EX going, and we got a water energy on him, and we get a couple Aurorus in play, gosh, think of how annoying that'll be. They're taking away your items, and he's taking, 20, 40, maybe 60 less damage from all your attacks. That is very difficult to deal with. I feel like Aurorus might have some potential at some point. It's going to be difficult knowing it's a fossil. We got to get the little restored Amora into play. I will say these Pokemon are extremely cute, though, which probably factored into me looking at them. Speaking of little cute Pokemon, let's take a look at this little guy. I'm not sure how to say his name. I'm going to go with Dedenne, since it's an antenna, and maybe it's kind of a play on words. Dedenne. I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that. But this is kind of an Emolga replacement when you look at it. Searches for 2 basic Pokemon kind of call for family. But the second attack is actually what I want to look at. Energy Short. Oh, 20 times the amount of energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So right now, before this set comes into play, Yveltal EX. Very big Pokemon. Lugia EX, also very big. Now, both of them usually have a lot of energy on them, both of them weak to lightning. So what we can do now, let's say we're facing a Lugia EX that just used Plasma Gale and it has 3 energy left on it. Okay? With Energy Short, that's doing 60, right? 20 times the 3 energy. With the Silver Bangle, it's hitting for 90 times 2 and just for 1 energy of any type. Any type. And a Silver Bangle, this little guy, can knock out a Lugia EX. That's too good to pass up, I think. This little guy might find its way into some of those decks. Same thing against Yveltal EX. If it has 3 energy on it, we can Energy Short with the Silver Bangle and get a knockout. So I like it. I think we'll probably see that played a little bit. Maybe it just has a 1-of in some decks. Next, we're going to look at Thundurus. Raging Thunder Punch. Looks like he is filled with rage as he is trying to throw a car at you. That is horrifying. But if your opponent's active Pokemon has a Pokemon tool attached to it, you can do 30 plus 30. That's just an interesting attack. Again, if, lightning weak Pokemon are big, this Thundurus could be useful as well. Now, on to some wacky cards. Here we have Hypno. You may not be able to read it because of the glare here on the reverse holo, but let me read it to you. Hand Control. Your opponent reveals his or her hand, and you may choose a supporter card you find there. If you do, you force your opponent to play it, but you make all of the decisions for that card. And then they have to discard the supporter. Now, this may be confusing, but let me give you an example. Let's say we find Professor Juniper there. All right, we force them to discard their hand. Cool. That's actually a pretty cool effect. All right, let's say they have an N there. All right, well, my hand was bad. Okay, we're going to force them to play that N. Now, where the other thing comes into play is, say your opponent has a Skyla. Oh. So you get to search through their deck, and I guess you get to look through their deck, which is very useful information. You get to see everything, and then you get to pick out a trainer card, but you'll probably just say, oh, sorry, I didn't find any. I'm going to fail this search. Same thing could happen with something like Karina. So Hypno, I really don't think it'll be played at all, but that is just a strange effect. I don't think we've ever seen that kind of interaction with a card before. I don't really know what to think of it either. These have always been funky-looking cards, too. Also, Drowsy has Sinister Suggestion. When your opponent flips a coin during his or her next turn, treat it as tails. So you just give them bad luck on that turn. Next, we have the big, the bad Machamp. Now, this was the pre-release promo card from this set. Just going to take a quick look at it. Each of your fighting Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So this is basically like Alteria's Fight Song, except for fighting types instead of dragon types. Machamp's a stage 2, meaning this card will not be very good. I just don't see it. Yeah, the additional 20 is cool, but good luck getting more than one of them in play, and getting a stage 2 out just to do 20 damage doesn't seem worth it. We have Tyrantrum next, another one of these fossil Pokemon. Doesn't seem like a very reliable card, but Chew Up is a pretty cool attack. 60 plus 90 if your opponent has any special energy attached to the active Pokemon. So special energy, of course, are very, very popular. So Tyrantrum can just take a big bite out of anything that has a special energy on it. That's a lot. That's 150 for 3 energy. And of course, the strong energy or a muscle band, that can knock out a Pokemon EX in one hit if it has a special energy on it. Again, it just comes from a fossil, so probably not going to be that great, but it's just interesting to look at. Speaking of interesting, we have Howlucha. So, this is a weird attack. Flying Rest is 60 for 1 on a basic. But if your opponent's active Pokemon isn't a Pokemon EX, it doesn't do anything. Alright, so clearly this is a counter to Pokemon EX. But the one thing that might have made it good was, hitting fighting weak Pokemon. Thunderous EX. We'll take him to the cleaners with Flying Press. Oh, wait, no, there's an ability. Damage from this Pokemon's attack isn't affected by weakness or resistance. So, even though 60 for 1 is cool, it only has 70 HP, and it just feels like this Pokemon's probably going to end up being worthless. So why am I looking at it? I feel like with Garbodor, this may have a little bit of a chance to be playable. Garbotoxin can take away your bad ability here, and all of a sudden you are doing tons of damage to a Pokemon EX that's weak to fighting. So perhaps Howlucha will have some hope in the future, I don't know. Just an interesting card to look at. We're going to move on to some other Dragon Pokemon. Actually, let's go ahead and take a look at all the Pokemon EX in the set. I don't think this is a good one at all. This one's pretty bad. 130 HP, not good. Weak to Lightning. That might be better in the future, but right now, that's pretty bad. Its ability is a Rocky Helmet, basically. Moonsault, Stomp, 60 plus 40 if there's a Stadium in play. This card is just mediocre. There's just, always seems like there's a bad EX in every set, and this happens to be the one for this set. Okay, Dragon Pokemon time. Flygon! Rainbow Shower. Attaches as many basic energy cards as you like from your hand to your Pokemon in any way you like. That's kind of cool. Of course, you do have to have a bunch of energy in your hand to take advantage of this, and there may be better ways to get that energy in play, things like a Blastoise or an Emboar, or I don't know. But this is certainly an interesting card, and it's actually something we've seen in the past with another Flygon from the EX Dragon set. If you want to go ahead and take a look back at that set, same attack, Rainbow Shower. It used to cost 2 back then, though. Just wanted to take a look at this. Next, we have Noivern. I think that's how you say that. I don't know. Now, the ability a little tougher to say. Echolocation. I guess. Echolocation. Alright, so this is basically Chinchino's Smooth Coat. If any damage is done, flip a coin if heads prevent that damage. But it is better than Chinchino because the attack is better. Has the potential to be good. Boom Burst. 30 to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So if you survive 1 or 2 times, flip heads on that ability, you can start to build up ridiculous amounts of damage with Boom Burst. You would have to play this probably with a Milotic. You use that Energy Grace to power it up since the Psychic Dark Colorless is an ugly cost. But who knows? Maybe that'll be playable. I don't know. Let's take a look at this Eevee. Energy Evolution. When you put a basic energy from your hand to this Pokemon, search your deck for a card that evolves from this Pokemon that's the same type as that energy card and put it onto this Pokemon. So to clear up any confusion, yes, you can do this on the first turn. Yes, you can do this when you put Eevee into play. Will that make this playable? I don't know. Right? Most Evolution decks don't actually play the basic energy. Flareon takes colorless, Leafeon takes colorless, so this probably won't even come up very often, but maybe in the future this can be a very good ability, get a turn 1 something and start attacking. Might not be bad, I don't know. Next, I'm going to bring up Slacking here. Not a good card, only want to look at it because it has the attack Knuckle Sandwich. Really. It actually has an attack named Knuckle Sandwich. Yeah, okay. Let's move on to the rest of the trainers here. That's going to close out our set review, I think. We'll just take a look at all of them. Battle Reporter. Don't think this is very good. Draw until you have the same number of cards. In your hand is your opponent. It's like a worse version of Copycat, since you don't shuffle in and draw a new hand. I don't really like Battle Reporter too much. Energy Switch being reprinted, so clearly we're going to have this for a while. We already looked at the Fighting Stadium Focus Sash. Fossil Researcher, Full Heal is back. All right! Who's excited for Full Heal reprint? Nobody, that's who. Jaw Fossil, Sail Fossil, pretty much the same thing for different Pokemon. Tyrant and Amora, already looked at that. We've looked at Karina. And for the worst card ever to be reprinted, Maintenance. Why? Why in the world was this card reprinted? It is awful. Shuffle 2 cards from your hand into your deck and draw 1 card. Okay, so this card was actually in base set. Also in base set 2. And it hasn't been reprinted since. And nobody missed it. This card is not good. No matter how you look at it, it's not good. It is bad. Do not ever think of playing Maintenance because it is awful. And for some reason, about 15 years later, they decided, hey, let's reprint Maintenance. I bet everyone's going to love that. Don't play Maintenance, please. Alright, Mountain Ring. Potentially interesting. Prevent all damage done to bench Pokemon by attacks. So, instead of putting down a Mr. Mime that has bench barrier, we can use Mountain Ring as a stadium instead. That's actually a lot worse, but whatever. Sparkling Robe. Okay, I think this card's actually cool. So this is basically Virizion EX's Verdant Wind in a tool. The Pokemon this card is attached to can't be affected by special conditions. So this is actually pretty neat. Instead of playing, like a switch to get out of things, you can put a Sparkling Robe on there, and hey, there you go. As long as Switch is around, I don't know if it's actually going to be good, especially when there's things like Startling Megaphone and such, but hey, it's an interesting card. Now, time for a big card to come back, Super Scoop Up. So this is a card that's been around in a lot of formats, and it is back. Flip a coin of heads, pick up a Pokemon, basically. And that's pretty cool for an item card. So, high risk, high reward. Super Scoop Up was played a lot over the years, and I wouldn't be surprised if it starts getting played once again. We do have Max Potion and stuff, but Super Scoop Up's always cool. Next, we have Tool Retriever. Choose up to 2 Pokemon, 2 cards attached to your Pokemon, and put them into your hand. I don't really like this card very much. There's not very many times where you're like, hey, I wish I could bring that Muscle Band back to my hand instead of attacking for 20 more. I'm sure there are some points where that might be good, but not worth an item card, I don't think. But who knows? I've been wrong before. And that's going to wrap up the trainers since we've looked at everything. Let's just take a look at the cool full art cards to kind of close this out. So there's Heracross EX Full Art, Seismitoad EX Full Art, Lucario EX Full Art, and Dragonite EX. So of these 4, I want to know, what do you guys think is the coolest looking one? Is it Heracross? Is it Seismitoad? Is it Lucario? Or is it Dragonite? I want to say Heracross is not the winner. So it's going to be down to these 3 for me. And then, let's see. Seismitoad's tongue is kind of freaking me out. So we're going to put him there. So it's between Lucario and Dragonite. And honestly, I just think the Dragonite looks awesome. So Dragonite wins my vote for coolest full art Pokemon in this set. Then we have the full art trainers. We have Battle Reporter, Fossil Researcher, and Karina. I don't know which one I like out of these. Karina kind of scares me, I'll be honest. I actually think I like Fossil Researcher. That's my favorite full art trainer from this set. It's kind of cute looking, especially with the Amora on there. I like this one. And our secret rares for the set. Mega Heracross and Mega Lucario. Looks like they're continuing this trend of the gold Mega Pokemon instead of actually doing, shiny secret rares. Just the gold text. The borders are a little golden as well. So those are your secret rares. You get 2 opportunities for a Mega in a box, I suppose. That's the bright side. But I really hope they come back with different secret rares in the future, since, having the same card and just changing the text to gold is kind of lame. I mean, just look at it. It is indeed the exact same card, just one is gold. And not even the Pokemon is gold, just the border and the text. Alright, anyway, this probably went longer than I wanted it to, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions about the set, anything you think I missed, any cards that are way better than, you think they're way better than I did, let me know down in the comments. Oh, there actually was one more I wanted to look at. Klepke. Each of your fairy Pokemon's resistance is now minus 40. That might come up at some point in the future. I can't think of how anytime soon, but being minus 40 resistant to dark is kind of cool. Anyway, that will wrap up the set review for the Furious Fist set. Again, hope you guys enjoyed. I will certainly have some more for you soon. Strong Energy and Fighting Stadium are broken. I am Pooka from the Top Cut, and I will see you guys next time.